Hi, and welcome to my presentation. Today I'm going to be guiding us through the research I did in order to better understand the play The Legend of Georgia McBride and some of the concepts around humor and drama in theater. So, without further ado, let's begin. My foundation for theater and drama were started early, safe to say. Maybe not as early as that picture on the right is suggesting, but very early I was doing theater. I would have to say that I was drawn in for my love of just having fun and wanting to be funny or make other people's laugh on stage. And while I've learned from my schooling that in this class that theater is so much more than just having fun, but comedy is still one of the core aspects that draws me back to theater. In my own experiences at ISU, I've been in a few productions that I would say have had serious or intense subject matter, from We Are Proud to Present by Jackie Drury or Bent by Martin Sherman. Each of these plays have had audiences emotionally distraught from their content, yet each of them were complemented by their comedy. This is a theme I'll talk more about when I get into talking about The Legend of Georgia McBride. Being no exact comedy expert, I knew I wanted to do some research onto what these main aspects of humor and drama both bring to the table when we're talking about them in relationship to plays. The first thing I found about comedic plays, and most plays for that matter, is that most people end up describing them as an escape from the real world. When people are down on their luck or feeling sad, they tend to go see a play or a movie that's funny in order to cheer them up. That feels self-explanatory for why we use comedy. If you don't want to be sad, laugh. But comedy does give it a truly formulaic approach. Most comedies have a definite happy ending that seem more of a surefire way to become happy if you watch them than maybe a different approach. My research on comedy also brought me to how specifically they navigate with dealing with sensitive subjects. One resource from an interview with the executive producer of TV show Veep, David Mandel, said his success to Veep's comedy is the ambiguity that he offers. Wow, further down in the same article, I found a conflicting opinion from comedian Lyric Lewis, who explained, "Everyone is afraid to be offended or to offend anyone else." This certainly feels me more on the side of that sad theater mask than the happy one when thinking about this conflict, but I don't exactly think they're conflicting. I think how these two views on comedic approaches intersect when you consider people are willing to offend if they know no one's going to get hurt. Well, lastly, my research led me to the understanding that comedies and dramas are a lot more similar than people think. Drama. What is the beauty of day without the darkness of night? And so is what is comedy without its sister drama. In a vacuum, comedy starts to become nothing more than setups and punchlines for jokes. Even in people doing actual stand-up don't just straight tell jokes. They pepper in needed segments of stories or icebreakers for the audience. In a similar vein to how people go to see comedic theater to cheer themselves up, the same is also true for dramatic works. Columnist Christina de Almeida tells us that people can get a similar experience from seeing dramatic plays that they can get from going to therapy. Not to say that it's any substitution to mental health professionals, but I think there is truth in what a good dramatic work can do to your moral psyche. This brings us to the play The Legend of Georgia McBride that we read for class. I feel like this play perfectly executes both its comedic elements as well as its dramatic to make this play truly a force to be reckoned with. This play pushes its audience to reevaluate heterosexual norms in the world around them, with Casey's journey of becoming a drag queen. And I think this play challenges gender norms and does so through what might be the perfect third artistic medium to do so: drag. This play's use of dance, I feel, as well plays into the performative art style that drag is. My own experiences with drag were limited before reading this play and doing research, but I now see that this play does wonders for its representation of drag queens and giving a more in-depth look into what drag queens stand behind. My research on drag brought me to a lengthy history to the movement around drag and the word drag itself. The word is first used in 1870 in one of its first reported uses in an English newspaper, in which the word is used, "We shall come in drag," which is referring to it being used as men dressing in women's clothing. By 1927, drag was clearly linked with the LGBTQ plus community. A.J. Romanoff's 1927 Manual of Psychiatry defined drag as an outfit of female dress worn by a homosexual, or as an actual event, a social gathering of homosexuals at which some are in female dress. What I find interesting about this is that at the time, drag was still a movement solely for the gay and LGBTQ plus community. Moving on. 1993 is when the world is first introduced to RuPaul on the grand stage with her song Supermodel, and in 2009 she'd become synonymous with her show RuPaul's Drag Race. With so much popularity around the show and bringing drag into the public eye, the New York Times even quoted, "Is this the golden age of drag?" And I think their answer is yes, I think it is. This play, I believe, does a great job of showing what amazing human authenticity drag brings out in people. Drag's performative art style and the type of witty, fast-talking characters drag queens are can absolutely knock out of the park comedy as an excellent convention to use to get audiences comfortable into what they're watching. And most of the time, I feel like that's exactly what drag queens are doing at drag shows. I think as well, characters like Rexy and Miss Tracy give such good depictions of drag queens and really paint the trials and tribulations they all go through. Rexy's monologue explaining why they perform and continue to perform despite coming from a homophobic town almost brought tears to my eyes when reading it, because I understood that her experience is probably mimicked by thousands of drag queens across the nation who continue to perform despite facing fierce differences from other people. I think it also shows me how perfect drag was in being a representative medium to show the key entanglement between drama and humor in theater. Oh, that's it. That's the research I did to better understand the relations between the art style of drag in the play and how it relates so heavily to humor and drama in theater in a way that I honestly never expected.